Hello and welcome along to the Panto podcast. This week my guest is the comedy icon himself, Sid Little. In this episode, Sid tells me all about his long career, the sad loss of his comedy partner Eddie Large, and how he's never been so busy with reality shows. I'd also like to personally thank Sid as well for being so open and honest during this episode. So, thanks Sid. So please, sit back and enjoy the latest Panto podcast. My guest for today's Panto podcast is, dare I say it, supersonic himself.
Oh, yes, it is.
Mr. Sid Little. Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And we're here in
Fleetwood.
In your lovely pub.
Sunny Fleetwood,
Yeah, the sun was dazzling me.
Yeah, I know, I've had to close the windows.
So, Sid, did you come from a theatrical family?
No. But I'd be interested. I'd like to delve into my past. I've never done that. But anyway, that's by the by. But my musical interest and I think most of my artistic stuff came from my dad, because he was quite musical. In the RAF, he played the cornet. Is it the cornet? The cornet, yeah. And then he split his lip and he went onto the accordion, the squeeze box as we called it. And so he was quite musical. And when I was a teenager, and I'm talking about the late 50s now, when Lonnie Donegan and Elvis Presley and Tommy Steele and all that lot, they were just starting, and the songs that they sang and that, you only had to know 3 chords, and you could sing all the records in the charts, or the hit parade as they called it. And so I mean, that's what. But he tuned it up for me. It was plastic ukulele, I remember it, yeah. And he tuned it up for me, and I was determined to play this. It cost me 7 and 6, all money, yeah. And I got it, and it was brilliant. I started enjoying it, and then I saved up, had a paper round, so I saved up and found I got £4, and my mum gave me the rest to go and buy like a Spanish guitar, like that one in the corner there. That's from India. That was when I did the Marigold. It's a guitar, folks, in the corner. He's looking at it, yeah. And and it was a Spanish guitar, and it was 8 guineas. I mean, where's that? That's showing me age, isn't it? 8 guineas. And I went to the pub with my dad. My dad's local, Sale Hotel in Manchester. And I was only, like I say, I was only 15, 16, but they'd let you in because if you were with your parents. So we went in what was known as the vault. That's where all the fellas in a pub, it was all sectioned up in different sections in the old days, not now one big place. You had the snug, the concert room, the smoke room, and the vaults, So we're in the vaults, and Dad's on one side with his squeeze box, his accordion, singing all the old army songs. Why do you whisper green grass? And I'm on the other side with all me younger mates, all 20-year-olds and all that, going, well, the Rocking Lane, she's a mighty good road, well, the Rocking Lane, she's the road. All Lonnie Donegan and all that. And unbeknownst to me, we got told to go around the rest of the pub, all in the other rooms, because people wanted to hear. They knew something was going on, because there never used to be full-blown music in those days. So free and easies and that. So I walked around the pub in the different places, singing all these songs and going round. And unbeknown to me, my brother and my best mate, Fred, they'd walk round behind me with a 2-pint pots, and they got them full of half-crowns. And I thought, I like this showbiz, So that was it. I just learned a guitar. I did it. I loved it because I loved doing it. And I mean, I went in a lot of pubs for nothing. I didn't do. When I got older, 17 and old enough to go in, then work in men's clubs. And what got me was I was sort of doing one night in like a working men's club or a conservative or Labour club, and I was getting £3. For about 4 spots or whatever. And I was on an apprentice, as I say, painter decorator, and I was getting a £2, £2.40p or something for a 48-hour week, And you think, well, whoa. This is, And but it was. I mean, it might keep going on about the money, but it didn't bother me that. I just enjoyed doing what I was doing, and then I met Eddie Large. Mr. Large, Edward Hugh McGuinness, as he was called. He was in the same gang as us, and he'd follow us round the pubs, follow me round the pubs, and then he eventually got up because he was a good singer. He used to sing like Clifford. Got myself a crying. Hi, folks. Oh. And he used to throw in little impressions, and it went down well. And then we used to do numbers like Speedy Gonzales, la la la, and he'd run round the club with a sombrero on and one of those cloth things, that they had, the Mexicans, and just like an idiot because he, like it was a little tubby, and I was the skinny one. That's why we were called Little and Large, yeah. And it took off from there, and then it got so big that we had to turn professional, and that was 1963.
How did you turn pro then?
Yeah, 1963. Yeah. Been in showbiz a long time, and the thing was, neither of us were married, so we had no ties. We wouldn't, if it had sort of not happened or anything like that, we would have only hurt ourselves, as it were. But if you sort of had a family or things like that, kids, and then you say, I can't, can't do showbiz or whatever, and you're never there anyway, as you know. You're all around the country, and we used to be in your part of the country, Northumberland, the northeast, every 2 weeks, and in Manchester 2 weeks. That was for the month. That was gone. 2 weeks in the northeast, 2 weeks in Manchester, then do it again, because there were so many clubs up in the northeast then and Manchester, working men's clubs, that we just never did the same club twice in a year. That's how good it was for those sort of things. But we did the whole of, and then we started moving around Britain, doing southern places and that, and then we started doing posher places like the restaurant cabarets and things, and then obviously the Batley Varieties and all that lot came into it. A Greensborough Social Club, I remember that one, yeah. And that was only a working men's club, but it was so big. The act, they got Louis Armstrong from America to come over, a working men's club, and it made the news. It made the Saturday 10 o'clock news, and Louis Armstrong is working men's club, and it just opened up. All the stars were coming over, and our big stars were doing Cilla Black, Shirley Bassey, and it 70s, late 60s, early 70s was the boom year for those, and we didn't sort of touch television until 1971 when we went on Opportunity Knocks. And we never thought we'd win it, and we blinking won it. And but it was a stepping stone, because you go on television, a lot of people recognise you. But there was 6 years after that we didn't do much. We did all our the cabaret clubs and everything, but not television. But it was down to a guy called Royston Mayo, who the producer of Opportunity Knocks, and he had a lot of faith in us, and he'd give us all like the Opportunity Knocks all winners show and things like this, and so we any chance he had, any excuse to put us on, he would put us on, and he kept us going like that for TV wise, and then he got this chance to do a pilot show with us, which is a one-off, and if it's any good, they'll do a series with you, like that, and it went down very well. So they gave us a series which was the Opportunity knock slot on a Monday night, 6:45 till 7:30, and after that, 7:30 on ITV was Coronation Street. So we were in a great position to be in, because everyone wanted to watch Coronation Street in the early 60s, right through the 60s when it was started, right through into the 70s. And so we were lucky, and we went from nowhere to number 13 in the ratings. We were getting about 15 million viewers, because there was only 4 channels then. BBC 2, I think, BBC, ITV, and Channel 4 was just starting. So it was a lot of being at the right place at the right time, and then that was it. We did one series for ITV, and then the BBC poached us, and we signed a contract for 3 years, and the 3 years turned into 14. So right through from 1977 right through to 1991. So there was quite a long stretch on television, and every year it would be pantomime at Christmas time for about 14 weeks, because they were big in those, long, and then you'd have a break in the spring, and then you'd go in the summer season, one of the big Bournemouth, all that lot, and that was for another 16, 20 weeks, whatever. In the autumn you'd do another TV show, and then you're back to pantomime again. So it was very, the acts don't do that. Well, for a start, there's no summer seasons, and there is the pantomimes are only like 2, 3, 4 weeks if you're lucky. So it's sad, but I think we had the best, the dying embers of the best of everything. We had, we had to go at cabaret clubs and working men's clubs, pubs, and then we went into classier clubs and everything. Then we went into theatre, so we've done very lucky being Eddie. Our career was great, and I wouldn't have swapped it. It was really nice. It was hard. But people always said, it must have been tough when you first started. But it wasn't, because, like I said at the beginning, I was enjoying it. We were enjoying it. Me and Eddie were enjoying it, just making people laugh. And we loved it, and singing songs as well, doing what we wanted to do, and getting paid for it as well. Wow. And so, that was the drive. But when you go on television and it comes, it's like when you going around the clubs when you've just started or when you're established, what a great act. But then when you go into summer seasons, pantomimes and all that, it's bums on seats. It's like, how many did they have in last night? Oh, they only had 20 in. It's money. And that's the sad bit. It's not enjoy. You've got to pull people in, and that's when it gets hard.
The business of show business.
Every act has a shelf life. Every act, don't matter who they have. Ken Dodd, but he had a long one. But it's true. You have a shelf life, and that's it. And Ken, bless him, he kept reinventing himself. Really, that's what you got to do, and that's what a lot of the kids do today. They'll be, they can be quiz show hosts and all that, and like Anton Deck, then they can turn to pop stuff, and amazing. Yeah, like Bradley Walsh, bless him. We did a couple of summer seasons with him, and he touched luck with Chase. He wrote it, and he's got his own company, Potato, and he but he's done an album singing now, because the comedian, he was a good comedian.
Who drove out of you and Eddie?
Sorry, drove.
Who drove?
Well, I was quite happy just sitting in the minivan. We had a minivan, an old minivan, 1963. When we turned pro, and Eddie drove for at least 3 years. Because I didn't want to drive because I didn't have a license, but I thought flipping heck, and he it's great this. Then one day, you imagine driving northeast and back, sort of every other week, and then one night stands, and they're like to Birmingham, from Manchester, that's like 2 hours and back again, and in the middle of the night and everything. And he turned to me, he said, "You're going to have to learn to drive." So I learned to drive, with a school. I had about 36 lessons, I think. But I did pass first time. And then after that, I was a bit nervous because I used to go up to the northeast, and before sat-nav and all that. And I'd say, well, what time are you setting off? He lived in Bury and I lived in Sale, And he said, I said, what time are you setting off? He said, about 10 o'clock. Right, I'll be there. And he used to come out of his house and follow him all the way. You couldn't do it now with all the traffic that's on the road, but... And that's what it used to, till I got used to it, because that was, I'm a slow learner with that lot, but and I was scared stiff. But it, you've got to learn to drive. So my son, he's just learnt in the last 2 years, and he's 32, and we got a car and everything for him at 18, and so now I don't think I'm ready for it yet, And then that fell through. Then in 26, he said, "No, I'm not ready yet." And anyway, he did it a couple of years ago. I said, right, I'm going to do my test. Boom, 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 did it and passed first time. But I said, you'll regret not starting earlier. And I said, did you? He said, no, not really. I said, you're a little liar, you know. He said, yeah, he wished he had, yeah. Because you got freedom, and that was it. It was the best thing that he did for me, really, saying that, you know, you've got to drive.
What about the journeys then? I mean, were you working on material?
What do you mean?
Were you working on your material for the act?
Well, not really, because the thing is, our material came from our experiences in the pubs and that. The audience made our act for us. Because I always remember when we first started, and I was, like, say, I only knew 3 chords, then I knew 4 chords, and our act was, when we first started, it was nearly all music, but it was comedy music, you know. We'd do things like Benny Hill's "Oi, Roy's at 6 and I feed the chicks and I'm feeling lonesome and blue," you know, and all that, meh, meh, and all that, and I'd be the noises. And I'd stand there, and I'm learning the chords and everything in my head, you know, D minor, F, C, or whatever. And Eddie sort of doing gags at me, like, you know, look at him. If you turn sideways and stuck your tongue out, he'd look like a zip. If you had 4 more navels, he'd look like a flute, you know. and he's doing all that, and they're laughing up. But I'm there thinking, right, I've got to do it. And I come off stage one night, and someone says, how come you can keep your face so straight? And I wasn't aware of that. You know, I wasn't aware. And he said, how do you keep your face so straight? I says, I wasn't aware I was, but I was concentrating that much. And that helped, you know, the act. And so you think, yeah, I'll do that, keep that in, you know. And when I started wearing bow ties, and they got bigger and bigger, you know, and my glasses were thick on him. So, and how did you come up with that image? And I didn't. It just happened. But that, like I say, the audience made our act. They sort of told us what to do, you know, in a way, you know. And then, I love the way you do this, that, and the other. Oh, aye, that's good. And we'd have the general idea, and then, like I say, things would just come on the spur of the moment. And all the gags and that Eddie used to do, as I say, with the zip and everything, the comedy just crept in and took over eventually, yeah.
Do you remember the first panto you both did?
Yes, it was, let me think now, it was Southampton, and it was a lady called Grazina Frame, and she was in a lot of Cliff Richard's films, I think, you know, the black and white, you know, in the late 50s, early 60s. And I think it was 64, something like that, 65, can't remember, somewhere around there. And it was Grazina Frame. Who else was it? Henry he was called. Clifford Henry. And he was an old established act. And we were, what were we, me and Eddie? The Brokers Men. It was Cinderella. And is that right?
That would be Babes in the Woods.
Oh, no, it wasn't then. We were, what were we then? I can't remember. Wow, it was a long time ago. But, you know, it was a strange one because, that was it. There was Susan Morn was on it as well. But she was a pop star, you see, and she wouldn't do a part. She didn't want to do a part, you know, like like we were, whatever we were. What the hell were we? You know, I can't think what we were now. But anyway, we were in it, and we did the ballroom scene, and she was, and that's what she did, Susan Morn, the ballroom scene. Like, this is the cabaret, you know, for really crappy, really, when you think about it. But when you think Susan in the late 60s and early 70s, when she did start playing parts, she played the Wicked Queen and all that. She was brilliant, you know, and that showed. But at first, it might have been agency saying, no, she's a pop star, you know, you can't play character, you know, in a pantomime, you know. So, and same with me and Ed, but we learned quite quickly. And I think then we had a break, and then I think that was, when was that? It's terrible. If Eddie was here, bless him, it would be great. But because he was the oracle, as they call it, he knew everything, you know, as regards our history. And anyway, we sort of got blagged our way through that one, and then we didn't do one for a few years after that, 1974, and I think it was at Wolverhampton, the Grand, and we did that a few times. I used to love it there. It was nice, and it was Frank Highfield. He was topping the bill, and a few others who I can't remember, but I think, and it was Dick Whittington. And I think me and Eddie were captain and mate or something, something daft like that. And we had a part, and we basically had the part. We had a few things to say, but not much. And it was only when we started topping the bill, 1977, 77, yeah. And we did like the Liverpool Empire, and we were topping the bill, little and large. Roger Stevenson's puppets, they were great, Harry and Roger, and a few others who I can't remember again. I'm terrible, but that's when we started doing our pantos, and we really liked being part of it. I think the only one that didn't really work for us, I mean, it was mostly Aladdin, and so that was it, and the only we did in Birmingham, and it was Cinderella again, I think it was. Yes, it was Cinderella, and it was at the theatre in Birmingham. I can't remember it now. It's not the Hippodrome. It was the other one, and it was me and Eddie, this little girl called Jade, who played Cinderella, and who else was there? There was Jack. Oh, what's he called? Wait, Mr.
Jack Douglas.
Jack Douglas, and Jack. I mean, he was playing the Baronado. He was playing. Me and Ed were playing buttons and bows, because we thought, how can we both be? You top of the bill. That's like you. Buttons is the big one, isn't it? Mm. So Eddie was buttons and I was bows with the bow ties, and it worked, but it didn't work because Cinderella's there, and I always remember because she was an 18-year-old girl. I mean, I don't know if you'll have to edit this, but and she was 18, very naive, and we're sort of rehearsing the apple scene. Do you know when you it's a famous, it used to be, and Buttons and Cinderella would be on in the kitchen, jump on him, and he's got an apple and he's rubbing it and all that, and she's saying like, it's a nice, and she was Welsh, really Welsh, So this was the thing, and so she's like, what have you got there, Buttons? It's an apple. I love apples. And eventually he gives it to her, the banana, the apple, So he gives her the apple. And so anyway, we're rehearsing it, and all of a sudden Jade turns to Eddie and says, I don't like apples. I don't like apples. So he says, well, what would you like? She says, a banana. Well, can you imagine in a pantomime, peeling a banana, an 18-year-old girl? Oh, no, everybody fell around, but she never saw it at all. She never... Oh, dear. I mean, maids have our terrible minds, but anyway, she ended up getting an apple. She didn't eat the banana, no. But, it was so funny. But the thing is, it wasn't a happy panto. That was the only one. I mean, we did them for years and years. We must have done 30 easy in our career. And the only one that was that one. We couldn't wait to finish it because Jack, bless him, he was playing part, but he was also the producer, the director, and he's saying to Eddie, "I'm going to teach you the fourth wall." In theatre, fourth wall is and it's all that, but. He said, Jack, we're bloody red-nosed comics, not flipping actors, which is, that's it. But he was, some of the stunts he pulls them funny stunts, which I won't tell you. But I mean, and he didn't, we didn't get on well with him really, you just couldn't wait to finish the series, the pantomime. It was sad because it was okay, but and we never did Cinderella after that. It was mostly Aladdin. That was suited us down to the ground, and most of the Aladdins was Eddie's wife, Patsy Ann Scott, because she appeared on 321. She was one of the hosts, and then Eddie met her in summer season in Scarborough. That was it, yeah. And we were in Blackpool. I was zooming over there and coming back. But she was a good dame, a good leading lady, yeah. And she was very good. She was the Aladdin, and me and Eddie were the others. and it was we had a lot of fun with those. Charlie Caroli, I think I told you earlier. I'm Charlie Caroli, and senior. And his young son, Charlie Collier Jr. And what an act, panto, real good panto. Clowns. And we learnt a lot off them, and Norman Collier, do you remember the comedian?
Oh, yes.
Nicholas, yeah. And he did his first panto with us, and he'd never done it. And he played Dame. And he was so funny, because he was far from being a dame. He wasn't at all feminine. I know he's not, he's a man, but you try and pretend to be feminine, don't you? But Norman, it was so funny. And he's sewing Patsy's pants, you're my everything, and all that. And he couldn't stop laughing. Aladdin. It was so funny. But we've had some great times. I loved pantomime. I really did. And the trouble was that with pantos, you're on and off a lot, but you do get a lot of time in between. And I sort of, as I say, we were doing very well with the act and that, but I was never obsessed with it. Like a lot of people say, they sit in and they write a play or they write this and that. I was never into that. I was into model boats, and people used to buy me kits to make, and that's what we'd do in the dressing room in between pantos and that. And I always remember at Wolverhampton, I was telling you, we had some happy times there, and there was two lads, Derek and Morris, they were called. They were a pair, and they used to look after the restaurant or the cafe, the cafe there, and you'd always you had to put your what you wanted to eat, and they'd bring it to your dressing room. Great, happy days, yeah.
Do you wish you'd ever donned the frock?
Well, I worked for 9 years for a guy called Simon Barry, nice fella, and he gave me, when Eddie was very ill, we did our last panto together in Hull, me and Eddie, and it was obviously then that he was ill, and he had to have a heart transplant. This was, years ago, 2000, turn of the century, 2000, and he had heart failure, and so we should never have done the panto, but he could hardly walk. He'd be out of breath, and it was sad to see. So anyway, after that, we did less and less and less. And eventually I started to find work for myself because I didn't want to pack it in. I wanted to keep going. And so I phoned up a little agent, Johnny Martin, and he's trying to find me work. And he said, well, we know what Little and Hard do or did. He said, but what does Sid Little do on his own? Being the straight man, you see. And I thought, flipping out, yeah. And I've always sung, as I say, but comedy, I've been the straight man. And I thought, good grief, what am I going to do, But I got an act together, and a few, interspersed into I started off trying to do Robbie Williams and all that, and I thought, and it wasn't working, because I'm an old man. And I thought, what am I doing here? Go back to your roots. So I did. And I started doing Buddy Holly songs and things like this, and like I say, Lonnie Donegan and Mailman's Adjustment. And it worked. People want, the sort of audiences that I was getting them, I did cruise ships for 9 years, and they were really good for me, you know. And they're my audience, because that was the age. But in between, I'd put like gags in and say things like, you know, about me and Eddie and things like that. And my wife, you know, being married, and my wife, she's lovely, she's a babe. Have you seen that film? You know, things like that. And you boom, boom, boom. But it didn't work on the cruise ship sometimes, because I used to take Cherie with me, my wife, and I forget, and I put that gag in, and they go, and they're all, because she's on the ship, and they know her, you know. So anyway, getting back to pantomimes, I was on my own, and I think it was Simon, and I think Johnny Marty kept pushing him until eventually he must have said, all right, I'll give him a trial. So he gave me a trial, and it was at Southsea in Portsmouth, you know, and the King's Theatre, and it was struggling apparently, and he took it over, Simon, and it was me. Who else was it? There was me. Oh, I can't remember them now. I've got the brochures everywhere. Some I've got them, yeah, but it was me. Oh, I think it was it was Dean Gaffney. Yeah, he was he was the top of the bill, and then it was me, and there was a few others, and he gave me this chance, and I was playing the Emperor of China. It was Aladdin again, yeah, and it was the Emperor of China, and you know, I was nervous, very nervous, and I got a few bits together and things like that. Anyway, at the dress rehearsal, Simon comes into my dressing room and says, all right, Sid, how are you? He said, well, he said, that was amazing. He said, I'll tell you what, he said, I didn't realise you could do it. And he said, I was so pleased, he said, and I want first refusal next year. And I worked for him for 9 years after that. And then I'd had enough and packed it in. But yeah, but he was the one, getting back to dresses, he said to me, he said, because he'd used me as, yeah, when you get older, you can't be buttons and all that. You've got to be an older character. And in pantomimes, there's not that many. You know, there's like, say, the Emperor of China, Baron Hardup, and maybe a few others. But so it's hard. You keep going round and round. And the theatres were very same ones. Like I think we did there at York, the Opera House there, or the other one. And we do Southsea a few times. I did it there. Torquay we did. Yeah, we did a few all around, and Wales. And so he said, Sid, he said, you'd do well as a dame. Oh no, I don't want to, because I'd seen the dames. I mean, there was ours that we had for years. Frankie Desmond, he was called, brilliant. Oh, he was a very talented man. He did the cruise ships a lot, but he also did great panto. He was a good dame. And when you see, and when you're a good, like say, if you can prove you're a good dame, you've got a job for life. And Frankie did, but it's hard work. You're on and off all the time, and you have a different dress, and it's, you know, and you've got to have it all. And it looked too much like hard work for me.
I reckon that you and Eddie would have made a great pair of ugly sisters.
Ugly sisters, yeah, I suppose we would really in our latter years. But alas, it wasn't to be. You know, he had to pack it in, and that's sad, a shame. But we did enjoy panto. We did when we were, you know, when we were fit and everything, because it's hard work. It's physically hard work. Time, you know, and you are knackered when you've done 2 shows, maybe 3 shows a day. God, blimey. Yeah, and it was a bit like, I remember doing a panto in Wolverhampton again with, she was in one of these soaps, it might have been Neighbours, and she was gorgeous looking, gorgeous, what was her name? A blonde, and, sorry I can't remember the name, but she was gorgeous, and she was Australian, and she came over it, and she didn't have a clue what pantomimes were about, not a clue. And she comes on, and she's doing it. Her boyfriend's in doing doctoring or something in Australia. She'd brought him over from Australia for the duration. It was, like I say, in those days, it was about 14 weeks, you know, in panto. And she'd be stood at the side of the stage, and she turned to me and Eddie, and she said, like, do you know, it's just like Groundhog Day. I can't do the Australian accent, as you could tell. She said, it's just like Groundhog Day. And we thought, yeah, it is. Because it's everything. You know, you 3 shows a day, and you're saying the same thing, and you lose track of all time, and it can get to you if you're that way. Because she didn't enjoy it at all. And another one, a leading lady that I did with was great. I did it on my own at Southsea, and it was what's she called? The Poison Dwarf, they called her in Dallas. Charlene Tilton. Charlene Tilton. And she was only tiny, she was like that. Smaller than me, couldn't believe it. And she was a lovely lady, American, but they haven't got a clue, you know, like, oh, gee, hey, great, you know, and all that. And, pantomime, and did it. Didn't have a clue. But she liked it, and she got through it, you know, it was all right. But, oh, dear. Yeah, we've had some nice people on, you know, the pantos we've had. We had Dirty Den, old, can't remember him. Leslie Grantham, yeah. He was a character, yeah. A few others, yeah. We did well. Oh, and another one that was pantomime that was memorable was Bristol Panto, and it was Frank Bruno, me and Frank, and I remember it was September time. We were booked, Frank Topping, and Little and Large, and it was Bristol Hippodrome, and we had to go in September to do a promotion for it for Christmas, and it was a lovely warm day, and we were on this open air bus and all that, and we ended up at the Hippodrome, and they're all waving at us, you know, on the top deck and waving at on open air bus. We get to the Hippodrome, and now we have to dress up into the panto gear. So we go into the Hippodrome, and we have the dressing room. Well, we're all together, me, Frank and Eddie. And they bring these costumes in. And Frank's playing Robin Hood. Well, you know, this guy stood in front of us, 6 foot, whatever. Me and Eddie, little and that, so you can imagine. And we're there, and he stripped off, and flipping it, you know, what a body. You know, like, it was just unbelievable. You'd think, like, God blimey, look at the state. You know, if he was gay, you know what I mean? But he was unbelievable. You know, fantastic. You know, not a blimp on his body, not a flipping. You know, you've got warts and everything. And he was so fantastic. But what a great fella. And me and Eddie getting changed and all that. You know, he's putting these green tights on. You know, and his character, he was a funny man. And he was a lovely guy, and he was one of those. He couldn't go back to the dressing room in case he missed his cue, and he'd sit at the side of the stage, and me and Eddie would be on and all that, and Eddie would be doing things to make him laugh, you know, and so he'd do things, and all you could hear at the side, that laugh he had, and the audience were falling about, not me and Eddie, but they could hear Frank's laugh, and it was. Oh yeah, he was great. He was a lovely man, and his family were nice. Yeah.
Was Eddie quite the prankster then?
Well, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I think. Not really. We didn't mess about too much, because what it was, he always had. Eddie was very clever, and he said, because once you start messing about in pantomime, you can lose it. And if you make a joke, it's got to be funny to the audience as well. You know, that's what Simon Barry always said. Don't, you know, mess about with my script and all that. And rightly so. So we were quite strict, really. Well, and Eddie made sure. But if you did, if it was funny or an ad lib, you threw it in and, we'll use that again tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like udders falling off cows and things like that. They're well-rehearsed ad libs. That's what they are, yeah. Well, that was it, and we had a few of them, yeah. But and I always remember the where was that one? Oh yeah, I did about 2 or 3 pantos with Lisa Riley. Well, she is now she's the prankster, she's the character, and being an actress, about 3 weeks in, if that. She's bored, you know, because it's like, say, it's Groundhog Day. She knows the script backwards and everything, not even thinking about it, and she does it. And And so, but we're there and killing ourselves laughing and everything. And I am. It's when I was on my own, as well. And she come in my dressing room on Southport. She come in my dressing room and she says, Sid, she says, I'm fed up, I'm bored, we're going to play a game. I said, what do you mean? And, like actors, I'll tell you a story in a minute. But, and said, we're going to play a game. You've got to, you get a subject and you've got to come on as that, something to do with that subject. Oh, okay. So, right, bum, bum, bum. Today's is religion. Well, I think I was Baranado, I'm not sure. And I thought, right, what do I do? So I got a Daz packet, and I painted it like a Bible. And I made a big wooden cross, and I put that on, and a collar, a vicar's collar. And I walked on stage, when like it's my entrance, and here comes Baranado, and I walked on, whatever. And well, she wet her knickers. She said, oh no, and she fell about laughing and all that. And she'd come on with something, So everybody had to do that, and it didn't disturb the anyway. So there was a few of them come as a cowboy or whatever, but you had to explain it away to the audience, like, oh, I found religion, and all that. then that was it. Anyway, Simon, as I said, was a stickler for being strict, and he someone must have told him what we were doing. He came and he said, Simon's in. It was the cleanest joke, the back to the script. But he must have heard, But you can't really, because it should be funny enough to but people get bored, like I say, and they start doing daft things, Oh, and I mean, there was they come to me now, but I mean, I remember Wolverhampton, and we in the ghost scene. It's a very famous ghost. They always did the ghost scene in Panto. There was all set pieces you always did in Pantos, and it was the ghost scene. So we start saying like, we'll come on, then you'll come on, and blah blah blah. Then a ghost scares you off. And then you come back and and then there's only you and the ghost left. It's usually the dame and the ghost, and they're saying like pitta papa papa, and they look round each, see each other, wah! And the ghost screams and runs off, because of the dame. But real good stuff for the kids. And I remember it. So we said, oh, we forgot the ghost scene. We nearly rehearsed it all. And said, right, the ghost scene, Mum. We didn't have a ghost. So the assistant stage man said, I'll do it. Dead keen he was, bless him, this man. Dead keen, this little kid. Well, he wasn't a little kid, no, he's quite adult. And he said, right. So you get a sheet, and put it over your head, and then you run on and go behind us and tap on us on the shoulder and scare us off. Oh, great. So comes the rehearsal, the dress rehearsal, and everybody's there, and he forgot the blanket. Anyway, he got the blanket. Right, well, get the sheet. Right, so we're all on stage, He comes on, and he walks right past us, and he fell into the pit where the band was, I went, what? And what he'd done, he'd put the sheet on, but nobody told him to cut holes for the eyes in it, and because he thought that, and he'd gone right into the pit. Oh, it's wonder he didn't break his neck, but it did put him off. He cut holes in it, and he did it. But it's funny. Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed pantomime. Yeah.
What was it like then when Eddie became ill and you decided to go solo?
Well, it was very hard. As much it was hard for Eddie as it was me, because he always said that, I believe him as well, that he didn't want to finish because there was two of us, and he didn't want me to, not have a job, as it were. And I thought, well, you're ill, and as I think I told you early on, that when we did the Hull Panto, we shouldn't have done that because he was so ill, but he felt that he had to, because of me, and it was sad, and that's what. I thought, no, that is definitely it, I mean, I should have said, no, we're not doing it. But, he was always the boss all through the years. What he said went, really. I think that's why we got on so well. I did what I was told. And then, like I say, when I did go on my own, it was hard at first, and then eventually, when people got to know me, and I'm not saying I had the best acting, well, I didn't, but it was passable, and I was lucky because people wanted to see me and what I represented with the little and large, and when I did the cruise ships, my sort of chats went down better than my act, because that's what they want to hear. They want to hear all the stories and everything else, and how did you get on, and that's what really in the end annoyed me with the cruise ships, was because you get these cruise directors, some were nice and some weren't so nice, but they come on and they were like in charge of these acts on the ship, and they could do what do, and they could destroy you, because they could put you on, say a cabaret on the ship, on say when you're in port and all the passengers go off for the night, you won't have an audience, and they do that. They used to do that if they didn't like you, and then you go on to nobody, but the best ones were when you're at sea, because you've got a captive audience then. And that was the thing that got me with I wasn't looking for any sort of anything different than the normal acts that came on, and there was some bloody good cruise acts, miles better than me. Colin Fingers Henry, he was called, brilliant, great guy, nice man, and a load of others that I could name, and they were brilliant. And when I first started doing the cruise ships, I'd be on with people like Mick Miller and Johnny Casson, and they'd watch me act, you see, and they'd come up, the next day, Sid, do you know when you did blah 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 about your wife? Well, say blah 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 blah, and they were giving me gags and helping me, And do you know what? I used to do this gag, Sid. You can have it if you want it. Boom, boom, boom. And wow, it was great. And that was, camaraderie with the acts, but not so much the ants managers and that. And it got me down, because I was, Sid Little, right, little and large, and I'd come out of my cabin and straight away, hey, Sid Little, oh, brilliant. Oh, can I have your autograph? And how's Eddie? And it was when he was it, so I got, how's Eddie? When that was, oh, he's all right, still alive. Oh, that's good. You know what I mean? And it was, so I was on call. I mean, I remember there was certain acts used to go on these ships, and they wouldn't come out of the cabin because for that or whatever, they didn't want to socialise. But that's part of the job on a cruise ship. You walk round and you do, you have to do that. And it didn't bother me. But what bothered me was that I wasn't appreciated for it. It was like, oh, you've got to do it. But no, I don't. But I did it because that's part of my nature. And it really got me down. But that I didn't think I was appreciated as much as I should have been. No, I didn't want any reward for it. Just, but hey, great, it's nice of you to talk to those people over there and this, that, the other, but it's part of showbiz. That was it. But it really got me down and the travelling. That was the biggie. You go on these flights from Manchester, and you'd have to go to Heathrow to like a little island in the middle of the Caribbean, then fly again to another little island, just to get to wherever your destination was. And I don't like flying anyway, but I lasted 9 years and it was okay. But in the end it got to me. I mean, sounds glamorous. I mean, you see people like Jane McDonald and that, and she loves it, and all that. But she's making money out of it now more because she's doing all the TV shows, and she'll be living like a queen, the best cabins and everything. We lived in the flipping the quarters that for the cruise quarters. But but it was hard at first, but then I got to like it, and after going around the world a few times, I thought, oh, that's it. I've done it now, and I was getting on a bit, and I felt I didn't feel as good as, I didn't have the energy. And I always said to Cherie, to my wife, I said, and people say to me, when are you going to retire? When are you going to retire? And as you know, showbiz, you don't retire showbiz retires you. And so I just said, well, I'll stop when I stop enjoying it. That's when I'll stop. And it came a few years ago, only about 3 or 4 years ago. And, like I come up now, that you can see this room we're in with my guitars, but I don't have an inkling to pick them up. Whereas years ago, whoa, and I'd be there and I'm putting my PA system on, I'd be doing all that. But I just haven't got the thing. But I got like living in a pub, which we do. I'll go down, Sid, there's someone here come from Australia to see you. Oh, all the way from Australia just to see me, That's what they say, just to see you, And anyway, I go down and I say hello to them and how are you doing and this, that and the other. And then if it's the karaoke on Christmas time, I love doing it then, and then I'll join in with that, things like that. And we have an open mic on a Wednesday. And so anyone can get up and sing, and usually if there's nothing to do, they'll ask me to get up and do one, and things like that. But the enthusiasm's gone. I mean, I used to be in awe of going back to the cruise ships. We used to do Fred Olsen a lot, and I did Olsen a lot with because me and Eddie didn't do a lot of cruising because we didn't need to. As I said early on, it'd be pantomime. Then it'd be a break, just in the spring for about 2-3 weeks. And then it'd be summer season. Then it'd be, a TV show. And then it'd be pantomime again. So there was no need to go on cruise ships and this, that and the other. So and it was only when I was on my own, more or less, that I did quite a lot, But I remember being on the Fred Olsen line. And there's Norman Wisdom's on. And at first, nearly everyone I was on, he was on, and he played drums and all that. His act, I can imagine when he was little, he was like a Freddie Starr. You can imagine him being like a Freddie Starr, very boom, 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 boom. But now he's obviously, the first time I saw him must have been in his 80s, and he wasn't the same thing. But Fred Olsen loved him. The line loved him because he would do what I said before. He'd be around the ship and he'd talking to people, he'd talk to everybody. Oh, Norman, what was it like being when you did it? Mr. Grimsdale and all this. And he loved it. And he was like that. He loved showbiz. Don't laugh at me. And drop of a hat, he'd do anything. And so they employed him. And he used to do the ships and get treated like a king. They must have paid him a little bit for it. But and just do a little... chat show bit in the afternoon, say spotlight they used to call it, and he'd pack them, and that was it. And he did that for a few years till he really, bless him, got too old to do it. But that's what you call the entertainers. It's in your blood, and that's it. But I think I lost it a bit after that, when it's time to sort of put up my boots and that. But then again, as I said before, showbiz doesn't. You don't quit showbiz quits you. And since I've sort of so-called retired, in brackets, I've done Master Chef, I've done the Marigold Hotel, 4 weeks in India. I went to Vietnam for them. I did Trust Me, I'm a Holiday Rep. That was in Cyprus. So I've done, and me and Eddie did... all the quiz shows, and in fact one of the last ones, bless him, that we ever did was the Anton Deck takeaway. That was about 2 or 3 years ago. So he's been dead a year. So it was only a year or 2 years before he passed away. But we did the Anton Deck. I think it was the last sort of TV show we did together, and that was great because Ant and Deck, we've known them, a few years, on and off, nothing. not personally, but we, through the showbiz, and we went in and we said, we've got these suits on, blue suits, because they had blue suits, and it was for the sketch that we were doing with them, and we're chatting, and then all of a sudden Eddie said, lads, is it all right if we have a photograph taken with you? We want one with you. Like it was like worship of that. Oh, wow, the blow me, and we thought, are they taking the mickey? No, but no, they were genuine. They were so proud that we'd said we'd do it. Do the sketch and everything. And that's when you think, wow, it's good, it's nice, and, you are appreciated. When people like that like you, and you think, oh, respect you, that's the word. You think, God blimey, that's good.
Well, you were superstars back in the day, weren't you?
And but we never thought that. We never felt our position. We never sort of tried to be big-headed. We weren't. Our feet were right on the ground, and that was it. We never sort of took off the ground. We just and we enjoyed doing what we were doing, and we're just happy to still be here after all these years, and be able to talk to you about it. It's great. Yeah, no, but it's great. Because you think everybody's forgot you, but they haven't. As I say, you came along and said, would you do this pod? And which had not a clue, folks, what it means. But if you're listening to it, thank you very much. But it's this technology has just lost me now. Yeah.
Well, something that you haven't mentioned so far, your Royal Command performance.
Oh, 1977. Well, people always say to me, and they used to say to us both, what was the best, time, best thing you ever did? And it wasn't so much the best thing we ever did, it was that year, and the year was 1977, when the world and his wife, then when Little and Large did become Bang, and it was because we'd done our first TV show in the spring, we did our first big summer show in Blackpool at the North Pier, and it was Little and Large topping, Frank Carson, so way I tell them, Norman Collier of Icarus, and Jim Davidson.
Goodness.
Yeah, a young Jim Davidson. Yeah, in fact, he was on his first wife at the time. And but that was 1977, and what a season that was. And it was weird because we'd been going right. I think it was June, and I think just creeping into August, because as you know, in Blackpool it goes right through to October with the illuminations, the lights. And Eddie, we was in the dressing, Eddie's in his dress, I'm in mine, and he said, you better go in and see Eddie. What's the matter, Ed? I said, I've got this terrible pain, He said, it'll go, it's a bit indigestion, something like that. And we got the theatre doctor came down the pier and walked down. Bit of a character, had gold on and everything, didn't look like a doctor, but he said, oh, it's just it'll just be a bit of heartburn or something, and nothing to worry about, take these tablets, I'll come back. And to be fair to him, he did. He came back, and they said better go to hospital, and it was peritonitis. His thingy's burst, his appendix, and so they whisked him to. Oh no, that was it. He got home. That was it. No, he didn't whisk him away at Blackpool. He said, I'll go home, and he said, if it gets, phone your doctor. So it was his wife phoned the doctor at 4:00 in the morning, because he said, oh, you've got to come, send an ambulance for him, boom, take him in, and another 24 hours he'd have been dead. And that was, and we had to have 6 weeks off, like our first start of our career, the big start, and we're off 6 weeks, and Frank took over as top of the bill. He loved it, And but anyway, we were soon back, and we finished off the season. It was a belter, and then we get offered to do the Royal Variety Show, and with it being 1977, that was Jubilee year, when 25 years on the throne. Long time to be on the toilet, isn't it? No, but sort of and she was there. It was the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Charles, and all the other dignitaries, that. But I thought, wow, you know, this is it. It was before Princess Di, I think, but well, it was obviously, you know. But and it was all these people were on the bit. Oh, fantastic! It was like. All these Americans had come over, like what's she called? Julie Andrews. I know she wasn't American, but there was Julie Andrews, Shirley MacLaine, Paul Anka, Rudolph Nureyev, Nureyev, and the list went on. Rich Little, a comedian, impressionist, brilliant American impressionist. King, was he called King? Jewish comedian, American comedian, and he was on loads of them, and all big stars, and me and Eddie thinking, what are we doing here? Wow, you know, this night, and anyway, we did our 9 minutes because that was one. We were sat in the audience and watching all of these legends rehearse. You know, Rudolph Nureyev, and flipping Shirley MacLaine, she came on and she's doing, I think, doing entertainment or something like that. And she started and she went, God said, I've got to stop, said, geez, you know, a few swear words, because I'm going to kill myself. And she had to warm up. So she had the team warming up with her. And then that was an eyeful, yeah. But, you know, Shirley MacLaine, wow. And it was, we sat there, me and Eddie, and all of a sudden, Lou Grade comes walking up, and he introduced us to Delphont, that's right. Lord Delphont walked up to us. Boys, I want you to meet my brother. I think, yeah, because they're all related, you know. And it was Lord Delphont. No, that's Lord Delphont. And, big cigar. What's his name? Bernie. Yeah. Anyway.
Bernard Delphont.
Bernard Delphont. And this is terrible. Lou Grade. Leslie Grade. Yeah, that was it. And it was Lou Grade, that was it.
We got there.
But Bernard Delphont introduced us to him. And he went, all right, boys, and this big cigar, because, you know, like, and he says, how long are you doing? And we said, 9 minutes. 9 minutes? Wow, like that. What is it? Is it not enough? Or what? You know, like, no one, 9 minutes on a Royal Variety Show with all those stars on. Wow, we never looked at it like that. And you had to do 9 minutes. That was it. Very strict. When he went into theatre, that was it. In the club, you could go on for hours, but you'd do a Ken Dodd. But if you in a theatre, it's got to be. If you're booked for 10 minutes, it's got to be 10 minutes, and that's what they were brought. 9 minutes. And anyway, so that was a thing. You know, wow, we've just met Lou Gray, and all that, and then we go on stage. And at the end of the show, the curtains close, and you all have to go back on stage, and you're all in a row like this, you know. And we're right in the middle. Oh, Jim Henson, you know, the Muppets, they were on as well. Oh, a magic night. And we stood there, and the Queen walks on, and she's only small, as you know, and sort of like and hello boys, and we sort of clocked what she said, because she said they said, you know, the rules are you don't talk to the Queen unless she talks to you. Okay, got that one. So she's walking down, and we can hear like she's asking Julie Andrews, and where are you appearing? And she said, oh, I'm making a film, ma'am, at the moment in in California, Hollywood, blah, 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 Shirley MacLaine. And where are you? She'd have to say, where are you appearing? She said, oh, I'm in Vegas doing a show, ma'am, and all that, and so on and so on. She comes to me and Eddie, she said, and where are you appearing? We said, Stoke-on-Trent, ma'am. Because we were at the Jollies Club, it was called, and we had to have the Monday off to go and do the Royal Variety Show. Yeah. And then following the Queen was the Duke of Edinburgh and Prince Charles. And there was so much alike. It was fun because, I'm not the impressionist, Eddie was the impressionist. But I always remember they walking and they come up to us. And Eddie, part of our act then, which we had for a long time, 25 years I think, we used to drop a guitar on the floor. And it was a live guitar, And he'd come on like, I think it was a Bay City Roll or something, and try and interrupt me singing. That was our act, basically, our act, that sort of thing. And that was a bit of the act we did on the show, and Prince Philip comes along and says, "Tell me, he says, is that guitar live?" And Eddie said, "Yes, sir," and all that. And then he walks on, and then Charles comes. He says, asks the same question. "Tell me, is that guitar live?" And he went just like his dad, live. "Yes, sir, it was." But it was a magic night. Yeah, magic night.
Real highlight for you both.
Oh, yeah. And great because a lot of our friends were in the audience, and I remember there was a guy called George Childs from the North East, and he had this club called in Sunderland, La Strada, and he had it was called Be Modern, the firm, and he made 4 of them millionaires, but he wasn't like a millionaire. He had the Rolls Royce and everything else, so he only had a bungalow in Sunderland, I remember, because we used to go and have egg and bacon butties after the show. The club will finish about 3 a.m, and Dorothy is his wife, and she'd make the egg and bacon butties. He had a lovely couple, and when Dorothy died, bless her, he kept in touch. But I always remember him saying, this was the early days before, we never thought of, when you're on the Royal Variety Show, we'll be in the front row. And you never give it a thought, but 77, who's in the front row? George, all the way from Sunderland, sat there with Royston Mayo, our producer, who he made Little and Hard. It was him that was responsible. If you didn't like us, folks, it's Royston Mayo's fault. But, Royston did, he found us, and that was it, yeah. But, that was the best. I think that was a night to remember, as you say. Yeah, it was a good night, and we had many good times. But that topped it. I think that was, you couldn't go any better than that. The year was it, and then it was all downhill from then.
Well, you've been all over the UK.
Yeah.
Any places different to play than others?
Oh yes, they're all got their own. That was a good thing, I think. We had great grounding. I mean, that's what, all these X Factor shows and all that, and they're trying to make kids stars overnight, but you don't become a star overnight if you want longevity. And you look at people like that are still going today that sort of had shows and things. Even the Grumbleweeds, bless them, there were 7 of them. There's only Robin left now, I think, but he's still going as a Grumbleweed, and and it's longevity. You've just got to keep going. It was great times. I cannot say there was any sort of a moment when that I didn't really regret being in showbiz. I've always enjoyed it, and no matter where you went in the country. I mean, Wales was a very hard place. I'm talking about the working men's clubs. That we did Panto in Swansea a few times, and Cardiff and places like that. But the clubs were very hard in the hills, in the valleys, as they called it. But we got through it. I think we got through that. But it was hard work. The Wales. That was one of the toughies. The North East. Everybody said to us like, "Oh, it's rough up there. It's rough. It's hard up there." But we loved it, me and Eddie. And then coming to Manchester and Liverpool, we did Liverpool because we used to do Liverpool and that when the cabaret club there, and the flipping Ringo Starr had been the honest, and Ken Dodd. I mean, I think that's when we first met Ken Dodd, and the manager, and that was 1963 or something like that. And he was a big star then, Ken, that. And he said the manager come up to him and said in the cabaret club, he said, I say I can't do that. But he said Ken Dodd's in tonight, lads. He said he wants to meet you after the show. He said I'll tell you what, he won't buy you a drink. And we thought, why has he said that? It's the furthest thing from our mind. Ken Dodd wants to see us. That's like, wow, that's in itself. But that, and he topped it with, he won't buy you a drink. So in our heads, me and Eddie, we go out to meet him, we sit there, and we must have sat there for about a good hour, bless him, and he's telling us all about everything you do, write down. If you do an ad-lib on stage, come off and do it straight away, write it down. And if it gets a laugh, boom, do it all there. And all we could think of was like, go on, ask us, do we want a drink? He didn't, but, but we in our mind, we just wanted him to ask us for a drink because, we'd have bought him one, but maybe we did, I don't know. But it was funny how a thing in your head, it sort of gets into you like that. Yeah.
Did that make you kind of a bit nervous though, to know that you've got sort of comedy royalty watching you?
Oh, we never got. We could never. We were always in awe, stage struck. We starstruck. We were starstruck. People. Wow. We used to do. They played him on Sunday night. London played him, and we were a name. But the people. I remember there was an actress. She was topping the bill, called Rita Moreno, and she was the star of West Side Story on the movie. And Eddie said, I remember, he remembers, he said, Rita Moreno's on tonight, wow, and he remembers seeing her on the, and he, being a young lad, 15, whatever he was, he fell in love with her, on the screen, and she comes over and says, "Hi, I'm Rita Moreno." He said, "I know you are." Yeah. Hi. But that was one thing about Americans; they never took it for granted that you knew who they were. Hi, I'm Bob Monk. That was something else. The Royal Variety Show. The compere was Bob Hope. Bob Hope was the compere of the Royal Variety Show, and I remember it was before what they call auto cue. You know what auto cue is? You read, when you see people looking at the screen. You can, the reading, you can't see it, but it's called auto cue, and the reading. That's one thing I was hopeless at, because I was hopeless at spelling anyway, And but that's another story about Ken Dodd, but I'll tell you. But it's before auto cue, and Bob Hope was comparing, and we were. He had this thing to say, in every sort of lifetime comes along a couple, blah, and he's doing the chat for us to introduce us, and blah blah blah, and this is just happened for these two guys. Here they are, Little and George, and all of a sudden it went silent. This wasn't this was the rehearsal, and all of a sudden Bob, and it's Dwight, Hemi, and someone else, two Americans had come over to direct it, produce it, and said, Bob, he said, I think that should be Little and Large. Well, he went a few blasphemes, Well, I can't, the goddamn thing, and he couldn't see it properly, and that was it. So, but then me and Eddie, when it come to the actual, we think, please don't say Little and George, please. And he didn't. He said Little and Large, And whoa, but that was a scare, And Ken Dodd, I always remember, we met it after that, the '63. We met him again at the hotel on what's it common. Uxbridge, near there, and all the Carnarvon Hotel, that's right. And we used to stay there when we did the TV shows in early days, and Ken was in there, and we had the chat, after, I think we had some lunch with him, or some supper with him, and we were chatting and saying, and he said, how's it going, young men, he called us, always young men, how is it going at the BBC? Oh, fine. Who's the producer? I said, and it was Michael Hurl. Oh, young Michael, he said. And Michael was doing Top of the Pops and all that. And we used to call him a Martian, because he was doing the two Ronnies, the Little and Large show. And he was flying off to Australia and doing shows over there. And he was doing Seaside Special, all at the same time. And you think, wow, he's got to be a Martian. He can't be real, Anyway, but he knew him very well. So he knew Michael Hurl. He said, are you using auto cue? We didn't know what auto cue was, So, no, what is auto? And he said, oh, no, you got to ask for auto cue. He said, in fact, ask for two. So we thought, all right, So we went the next night, and hi, Michael, and all that. He says, can we try using an auto cue? He's looking at us like this. In fact, can we have two? He went, who have you been talking to? And then it came at Kenny, and he swore, like that. And he said like that. But the two Ronnies, that's all they did, use auto cues, but they could do it brilliantly, because, Eddie would have been able to do it, but I don't think so I had to rehearse till I knew it, in my head. which is why I didn't say much.
What was it like then, walking out on the stage of that Palladium that first time?
The first time was, I think, because we did it quite a few times, I'm quite surprised. Well, it's when you see these people and, like Jimmy Tarbuck and that you look behind it, and you when you see these shows and you see someone stood on a stage and you're looking out at the auditorium, and it's like, this is the Palladium, and that's this feeling you do get. You think, are the people that have been on this stage, you feel that you shouldn't be there, and it's only for the really best elite and all that. And there's us stuck on this Palladium, yeah, great. Because the first time we went there, as you know, it's only small, it's in the street at the side, but inside it's 1,000 seat or whatever too, and that was wow. We're here at the Palladium, and we went in the dressing room, and it was just like a prison cell, because there was no bulb, there were just bulbs hanging from, no showers, nothing like that. There's none of that in those days, but the only good dressing room was number one, and that was made for these big American stars and all that, whatever. The Palladium on its own. We never did the pantomime there, which was sad. That would have been nice to do, but we saw a few there. I remember seeing, bless her, she just passed, well, she's been dead a bit now, what's she called, from Carry On?
Barbara Windsor. Barbara
Windsor, and it was Cannonball. That was a good panto, that was, yeah. Yeah, that was good. Seen some good pantos, used to love pantos. Even as a kid, the school used to take us, the Manchester Opera House, and we'd go there and see some. I remember seeing Des O'Connor there, and he was good. Des was brilliant. I mean, we did a summer season with him in Scarborough, and knew him very well. I was bumping into him at the BBC. Freddie Garrity, he was in a panto. He was good. Good buttons. He was a good buttons. You were made for me. Yeah, happy days.
You and Eddie then, did you socialise much?
At first, we were 24/7. I mean, we were never, because the act, we're in the minivan, as I said, and we were there. We saw more of each other than we did our family. My mum and dad and that was never home, and Eddie wasn't. And then when we got married, Eddie was in Bury and I lived in Sale, and I'd learnt to drive. So then we were a bit separated then, but was always, nearly always away, and always in pro digs, as they called them, in the northeast, and we'd be, places like Stockton-on-Tees, and all that. And you could get for £9, I think it was £9 a week, and you got 7, bed and breakfast. Breakfast was about 12 o'clock, because you didn't used to come in till 3 in the morning. And some of the hotels, the one in Sunderland I remember, they used to leave food in the oven for you, and the last one in. So I don't know how they would have known the last one in, but maybe when the last food had gone, was to turn the oven off, and they'd leave you to it. And it was for £9, and 7 days a week, and that was in the 60s, early 60s, right through. But and it was happy days. And we just socialised like that, and then dues and like pantomime. You're there for the summer season, 14 weeks, 16, well, more actually. So that was right through our big career for 14, 15 years. And it was only when Eddie started getting ill and then he moved to Bristol, of course, and that was way out. So, and then work started to fizzle out. There wasn't as much work, and then no clubs. So you weren't doing 7 nights a week in Birmingham, 7 nights a week in the northeast or whatever. You were doing one-night stands. So you just go straight home to your wives and family. So that's when it really was, you didn't socialise much then. Yeah. But we're always in touch. I mean, before unfortunately he passed away, I was on the phone every day. I mean, because that's what I miss. I can't, You know, like even now I just say, oh, just phone Eddie up. And, you know, he's not here with us anymore. And I do feel that it's, you know, bless him. I mean, this year, hopefully, in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to, you know, we're both Manchester City fanatics, and we've seen them right through the 63. I think Eddie introduced me to, you know, Main Road. He lived near Main Road in Manchester. And I was a fan then, because I wasn't into football till I met Eddie. And then we saw him through the Allison years, and the other guy, you know, all the managers and everything. Eddie knew him personally, you know, because he was never away from it. And then most of the bad years we saw him through. But this year we might win the European Championship, you know, the Champions League. And I wish he'd have been alive to see that. Even get to, like, we're in the two, you know, Chelsea and us, and if we win, we've the first time in our careers, you know, the City's career would have, and I'd loved him to have been alive to see that, you know. In fact, I must phone his son up, Ryan, and say, you know, I hope we do win. If we do win, Ryan, your dad's done it. Yeah. But yeah, he loved his football. He loved his Man City. In fact, when we went to the funeral, yeah, it was sad. This, you know, last year, yeah, April, May, when I went to the funeral, and it was we're only allowed 12 of us there. There was 12, I think, and so it was all family. We all knew all of us knew each other, and that was it. And you couldn't have a drink after. You had to. So we stood outside in you know, just for a couple of hours. It was a nice day, funny enough. And and I had to do the eulogy, and I thought, what do I do, because they know everything about us, yeah. So I did our early years, as I said, bit like when we was teenagers, before we became even an act. We used to go potholing and abseiling in Derbyshire, you know, on Sundays, and we'd do things like go to the Isle of Man for fortnight holidays, and you know, I remember one of the first things me and Eddie did. We did a talent show at the, what was it called, at the over in the Isle of Man. It's not the Winter Gardens, the big one there. It's like a greenhouse, it was. And anyway, and they had talent show. Tuesday would be the kids, Wednesday would be teenagers, and Thursday adults, and we were the teenagers. And we our mates entered us for it, and it was a wet Wednesday afternoon, and it was packed, and we only knew one number called Mule Skinner Blues, you know. And I was that nervous, I couldn't. And he's whoa, even then the comedy, even though we didn't do comedy, and we come second. But the thing was, everyone, there was a lot of kids in there, you can imagine, and they're stamping on the floor. Woo, you know, it was one of those, like, you didn't have a clap-o-meter, but it was, everybody had to clap. And so they said, everyone clap. And there was this girl on, she was 14, she looked like an angel, she sang like an angel, and she sang the Lord's Prayer. Well, we didn't have a chance, did we? You know, like, all the old people are there, oh, isn't she wonderful? But me and Eddie made everybody laugh and all that. And the thing is, everyone's banging and stomping on. No, they wouldn't have it. You know, just clapping, because they wanted her to win. Yeah, and she did. She won. Yeah, I mean, rightly so. But so I started talking about those days. You know, to his family, because that's all it was, family. Ryan, you know, his son, and two daughters, and you know, Sammy and Ali, and all the wives and husbands and things, and it went down, you know. It got a few chuckles and a few tears, and Patsy told me, she said, you know, the coffin's there, you know, and at the side of me, and I says, well, you know, I said, I know, Eddie, I said, Patsy has told me, you know, I'm just summing up now, you know, and I said, I said, well, Patsy's told me that you've got your blue suit on, and that's the blue suit that was the last performance we ever did together. I said, well, this is our last performance, and I've got my blue suit on. So all the best. This is our last lad, you know, and all that. War broke up, and yeah, I'm even now I'm getting, and bless them. I thought, have I done the right thing here? Because everyone was crying, but it was a sort of final thing, you know, and it did upset me. I thought, why have I said that? But it was meant to be, and very sad. And then I go outside, true to form, I'm taking pictures of like these flowers. There was one, the football, I'm taking these others and all that. And my wife, Cherie, turns around, she said, Sid, they're not Eddie's, they're other people's. Because they want that many people, you know, I mean, like say, but I also saw all these flowers for Eddie, and they weren't. It was just this football, that was the only one, you know. A very sad day, but on a happy day in a way, you know, we met the family, and I'm hoping, I mean, we've not asked Patsy yet, but it's not a very big pub, you know, this, but I'm hoping that because round here we've got quite a few friends, you know, that knew Eddie, and with the coronavirus and everything, we've never had a chance to say, you know, our friends and that. I mean, and you know, if it had been normal times, it must have been a big memorial service for him in London, you know, with Tarbuck and all that lot. But you know, it's still not to be, is it? So, but I'm hoping that we'll get people round here. We've got like Royston Mayo, as I say, Roy Walker, you know, Mickey Miller, you know, Johnny Casson, people like that knew Eddie, and we might have a little do here at the pub, you know, just to celebrate his life. I'd love to do that. So if and when that comes off, it'll be great. So, because I'm sure they'll all rally around and love to.
Well, you've both shared so much laughter, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Laughter and tears. The typical showbiz masks. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we've done. And we've had some great times. You know, the good times outweigh the bad. So, yeah.
You ever thought about writing a book?
Funny enough, I'll show you. I've written one. In fact, I've written two.
Have you?
Yeah, and there's a book up here. I'm just leaving the microphone, folks, for a moment. I'll just show this. And that's there's a little and large for games thing. That's one. Little and large. Party book.
I think I had that when I was a kid.
Yeah. And there's another.
Goodness me.
Yeah. Oh, there they are.
Looking at magic tricks as well.
That's them.
Goodness.
That's them. So, to answer your question, yes, I've written a book. You can get it on, I think you can buy them from, it's a funny story this actually. There's one here for your listeners, and it's called Little Goes a Long Way, and it's my own story. It's a soft paperback. And one of my wife's employees downstairs, the Neil he's called, he works down the bar, and he I don't know what I've done to deserve it, but he loved Little and Large, and he said, Sid, I've got your book at home. He said, will you? Well, I got it online. He said, will you sign it for me? I said, yeah. So he brought it in, that one, you know, not that one, but he brought it in. And I'm opening it up, the front page. I said, I've already signed it. So obviously someone had put it on Facebook, you know, to sell, and he bought it, but I'd already signed it. And then not only that, he said, oh, great. I turned the page over, and there's Bobby Ball's signature. So someone whoever had the book before he bought it, must have given it Bobby to write in. Yeah. So, oh dear. So it still comes back to you, and that was only a few weeks ago. Dear, oh dear. But
just looking, it's
so
amazing times are.
Yeah.
You were in the right place at the right time. That's
at the right place at the right time. Yeah.
Unbelievable career.
And I mean, there is a lot of luck. I mean, as they say, it's 20% talent and the rest is luck, and I think that's true. You think of all the stars; they'll most probably tell you the same idea. Yeah, I mean, when Eddie died, Les phoned me up, Les Dennis, and I left it a bit before I phoned him back because I was still a bit raw. And then I phoned him, and he said, "Oh," he said, "I always remember you and Eddie. You were so nice to me when I was just starting, because he came on along after us a few years later. Not a lot, but a couple of years or something. It was so nice to me." And I thought, what a lovely thing to be able to someone to say about you. You know, because you hear so many horrific stories. Yeah, so yeah, I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky, and me and Eddie, we've had a lovely life. We had a lovely life together. Great memories. Yeah.
He'll be looking down on you.
Yeah, well, like I say, hopefully he'll make Manchester City the champions one day. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I can't, yeah. And here we are still talking about it. So thanks to you, Harvey. Yeah.
Well, this leads me on to my last question.
Hayden. Because it's funny, Hayden, you see, Hayden. And I'll say Hayden, because Hayden J. Harvey, I remember him. And,
yeah,
but you're spelled Hayden. Yeah.
Hayden with an H.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
You're all right.
What last question?
Right, well, this leads me on to my last question.
Go
Your
on.
dream pantomime. So
My
you can
goodness.
be in it, you can be in the stalls watching it, you can choose the cast, they can be alive or dead, the production and the venue.
Oh my goodness. Whoa. That's something. Well, as I say, we always seem to do Aladdin for obvious reasons. I think there's two of us. Yeah. But I think the panto I'd love to have been in, which I never did, was Peter Pan. I'd love to have been Captain. Well, Eddie would, or if I could have done Hook, if it had been on my own, I'd have loved to have done a Captain Hook, and also a Darling, because he did the two parts, didn't he? And or if I'd have been with Eddie Smee, and Eddie could have been Captain Hook, and he would have been a bloody good Captain Hook, Eddie.
You couldn't have taken him seriously though, could you?
Oh, I bet he could. But he could be nasty though, and I can imagine Eddie doing that menacing thing. Yeah. In fact, I know we did a thing in which really in Swansea, and it was Babes in the Wood, and it was scary, because Babes in the Wood, if you think about it, it's about kidnapping children, which I think that's why you don't see it anymore, Babes in the Wood, because it is a touchy, it's a no-go thing. But we used to do Babes in the Wood, and I remember they were Welsh, they were two little kids, and all that, and we were the robbers, and we had to go in, take them in the woods and stab them, that sort of thing. That's how things have moved on since then. So we'd be on stage, and there's sweet little kids they were, and what you doing? Oh, we're just taking you for a walk and all. And Eddie's, got his hands behind his. Oh, he goes like that to pretend to stab him, And she turns around, and so he puts his hand with the dagger behind his back, and she said, "What have you got behind your back?" And he says, "A big fat bum, what have you?" And all that. But but it was that sort of thing. But then you think a few years on, and wow, it's the same. All the sort of innocence has gone. It's it's sad. Pantomime can't be any as it was anymore. I mean, I remember when you could get kids up on the stage. You can't now. There is people do it, I know, but really you should. And I think when Simon, we had two children. It's not the same, because I used to have about six kids. Well, we had six each. Eddie'd have the boys, or I'd have the boys, and he'd have the little girls. And then you sort them out, and then you pick the character, and then you give him a load of prezzies and send him off stage. And it was always a part, because even the families would come and say, "Oh, will you put my little grandson on? Will you put?" It's part of the thing. But then politically correctness, you can't do that. You can't have more than this. And if they do, they have to be taken out of the seat by a usherette. The dancer has to take her from there and stand on stage while you interview him and all that. I mean, it was a nightmare. It was another nail in the coffin, I think, because anyone in their right mind, it's for kids, pantomimes for kids. But then again, people said that to her, and Eddie used to say, it's too good for kids. And he's right, because we'd say things that would hopefully go over the kids' heads, and the adults would get it. And whoa, it's for everybody. It's for you. That's what it is. We loved it when grandmas came, and I remember I thought it was Wolverhampton again, and I was coming out the stage door, and I was later than normal, and there was these 5 kids outside, young lads, teenagers. And they were following me down the street, and I'm thinking, I'm going to get mugged here. Oh dear, what's happening? And excuse me, yeah. As I said, we know it's you, saying we've just been in to see the pantomime. And I just want to say how much we really enjoyed it. He said, because our grandma bought us the tickets, and we didn't really want to come, because we thought, it's for kids and all that. He said, but it's the best night we've ever had. And I thought, how wrong can you be? You think you're going to get mugged, and then all they wanted to do was praise me for saying what a great night they'd had. And,
how lovely.
Yeah, and it's fabulous, that. But getting back to your question, I think the greats, I think we had a lot of goods on. I mean, I can't remember his name now. He sung a famous song, and the old pros were good, and like I say, Frankie Desmond, what a dame he was, and over the years, you'll know more than me, all these dames that it would have been nice to see them, a real old-fashioned pantomime and what they were in the original state. I'd love to have seen one of them, because pantomimes, everybody thinks like, it's too commercial, but it's always been that way, because that's what, before television in the 30s and 20s and even beyond, they used to do gags about the posters, didn't they? And like your country needs you, Kitchener and all that, but they'd make jokes about it, and it was all politicians. So it was all then when television and on characters, it was always been that sort of thing. There is some purists say, oh no, mentioning things like that, but they always did, even in those days. And I would love to have been around and seen one like that. But I think Peter Pan would have been the one I would have liked to have starred in, and actually, and I wish I had like an endless budget to have a big pirate ship, because as you can see, my love is. But I used to love that when we used to do Dick Whittington, and it was I used to love just looking at the scene sets, and it's a classic story of Ken Dodd, and do you remember Hope and Keane,
Yes.
a double act, and he was doing a pantomime somewhere, I think it was Birmingham, and it was Dick Whittington, and Robinson Crusoe, sorry, it was Robinson Crusoe, and he's playing Robinson Crusoe, Ken, and he's tied to the mast, and all that, and then Hope and Keane, the brilliant act, double act, great double act, but they were very agile, very fit, acrobatics and all, they could do the lot, and they would be on, and they'd be doing a fence scene, the best fence scene you've ever seen, while Ken's tied to the mast, and he's there like this, and the place is going mad, way, and it gets a big roar and all that, and it's there the guy comes off, and then the next thing, the producer or someone knocks on Hope and Keane's door and says, sorry lads, but the fight scene's out. What? Yeah, you won't be doing the fight scene again. Yeah, but it's the best part of the, blah, blah, blah. So that you can't understand it. No, it's out, sorry. So they knock on Ken's door and say, Mr. Dodd, and all that, because they're all young, but I believe you've cut the fence. He says, yeah, he says, nobody gets laughs while I'm tied to the mast. That's what he said, yeah. Nobody gets laughs while I'm tied to the mast. And you can imagine, he did, yeah. That's a famous panto bit, yeah.
So what venue would you have?
Oh, the Palladium. Yeah, I'd love the Palladium. That's one thing we never did, do a Palladium panto. We've been on it many times, but oh yeah, it's magical. It's magical. That definitely. have a go at that. But Panto, yeah, it was lovely. I'd love to do a one like that, Peter Pan. Yeah, definitely.
Well, Sid, thank you so much for taking part in the Panto podcast.
Thank you very much, Hayden. Yeah, with an H.